Well, they like you now, but that doesn't mean they're always going to like you. Today, we're going to talk about the conundrum of leadership on the Kingdom Confidence podcast. Welcome to the Kingdom Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Coach Jesse Cole, your Kingdom Confidence coach. What does that mean? That means that my purpose, my assignment, my mandate is to encourage and equip you with kingdom confidence. Kingdom confidence is God's power, authority, and influence demonstrated through you with authenticity and boldness. My job is to make sure that you are in the marketplace representing the kingdom in a way that glorifies God and sets you apart from your competition. Kingdom confidence. Everything that we do is for the King. Colossians 3:23. And all you do it as if you're doing it for the Lord. So if you are customer service, do it if you're doing it for the Lord. If you are in the sales, do it as if you're doing it for the Lord. No matter what you're doing, we do it as if we're doing it for the Lord. And so my pleasure, my responsibility is to equip you with the tools and to do that and to encourage you to do that. Real simple, real clean, real concise. Today, we're talking about something that many leaders have felt. And if you haven't felt it, you're going to feel it at some point in your life. I'm calling it the conundrum of leadership. The conundrum of leadership. You know what I'm talking about, that tension that you feel. The tension that you feel that when people celebrate you, they talk about you, they praise you, but however, eventually, those are going to be some of the same things that people complain about when it comes to you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. They celebrate your boldness until it confronts their comfort. They celebrate your clarity until it reveals their excuses. They celebrate your confidence. Listen, until it exposes their insecurity. They celebrate your decisiveness until that same decisiveness disagrees with their preferences. The conundrum of leadership. And listen, if you get caught up in the praises of men, you're going to find yourself buried under the weight of those praises, because our flesh is not designed to carry the praises of men. That's why we have to always be in tune with what God is calling us to do, whatever our assignment is. We can't get caught up in the praises of men, because that can change in an instant. You know that. The conundrum of leadership. And, a scriptural reference is when Jesus had just got done feeding the 5,000, right? And he was teaching in a temple, in a synagogue. And he was telling the people that you are going to eat of my flesh and you're going to drink of my blood. And unless you do that, I am not in you and you are not in me. Now, for them, they were thinking figuratively, like, are we going to be cannibals? Are we going to eat your flesh? How can we eat your flesh and drink your blood? How is this even so? How can we eat of you? But Jesus wasn't talking about his physical flesh or his physical blood, but they couldn't capture it. He had just got done doing a miracle, and then they were talking about, show us that you're real. Show us that you're the one. And they just got done doing a miracle. He just got done doing a miracle. And then he says, you're going to eat my flesh and drink my blood. And they said, this is a hard teaching. Remember, meaning that they couldn't wrap their mind around it. They didn't see him. They saw the miracle, but they didn't see him. Isn't that just like believers and in church, where people love the gift? They will use your gift the most, but they will see you the least. I just made a post about that. They will use you the most. They will use your gift because it pleases them, but they still can't even see you. The conundrum of leadership. And then Jesus says, from people were starting to leave him from this time, many of the disciples left him. And then he said, are you going to leave me too? Are you going to leave me just like they did? That's crazy. He just did this miracle and they still couldn't see him. They wanted his gift, but they didn't want the gift. People loved your gift. People love your gift, but they don't understand your growth. That's some good eating right there. People love your gift, but they will never understand your growth because God has been preparing you in the dark. Like they see the outcome, but they don't see the process. They see the strength, but they don't know what it felt like for you to be stretched in those dark seasons when you were doubting yourself, when you didn't know what God was doing, when all you could do was stand. You might have been wobbly when you were standing, but all you could do was stand and have faith. They don't see those times when people were close to you that said they were going to be with you and they just up and left, or they made an excuse to leave, right? They see the leadership, but they don't see those lonely nights when you land on the side of your bed wondering what the next step is. They don't see that. They don't see that. Here's something I want you to understand, though. Leadership demands development, and oftentimes that development is not in public. So even though they don't see it, you can't hold them in contempt for not seeing it. People are just being people. They don't understand. Very few people. When I say this, I'm saying this from experience, from my personal experience, and what I've seen from other leaders. Very few people are actually going to see you. I'm not talking about physically. I'm talking about in the spirit realm. Very few people have the capacity to see you. I was speaking at a conference about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was walking through the corridor, getting ready to prepare my room for my talk. And this lady stopped me. She says, "Excuse me, who are you?" And I said, "My name is Jesse. I'm here. I'm one of the speakers. How are you?" She said, No. I didn't ask your name. She said, "You are something. Like, who are you? Like, there's something different about you." I hadn't even spoken to this lady. I might have said hello, just being, cordial, saying hello to people around me. But I hadn't even had an in-depth conversation with this woman for her to even hear my words to know who I was. And so she stopped me and she said, "Who are you? There's something different about you." Random lady. And for that whole weekend, every session I had, she was in there on the front row because she said, "There's something on the inside of you that I need, and I'm coming to all your sessions." I said, "You're welcome. Come on, sit on the front row." Very few people see you. And for those who can't see you, it is what it is. I don't want you to get frustrated. I don't want you to be bitter about that because it's not going to happen most of the time. Here's the deeper truth, though. People often respond to your gift at the level of their perspective, not at the level of your maturity. People often respond to your gift at the level of their understanding, of their perspective, of their context, not at the level of your maturity. They don't know what you've gone through. They don't know what it takes for you to stand flat-footed and do what you do. They don't know. They don't know the conundrum of leadership. They know how to celebrate the benefit. They question and they don't understand, but they don't know. They don't know. And it's not your job to try to convince them. I'm going to do a podcast on that. It's not your job to convince people of your calling and your assignment. It's your job just to walk in it boldly. It's not your job to try to convince people that you are who God says that you are. It's not your job. You'll be chasing You'll be chasing that for the rest of your life, trying to convince people who you are. Your job is to not do that. It's not to carry the weight of their expectations. It's not. Your job is to lead. Your job is to lead with with consistency, with humility, with confidence. As you're leading, you're being led by Holy Spirit. That's your job. So keep growing, keep refining, keep showing up as God purposed it. Keep being shaped by the Father. Not as the leader who just wants the label. Keep showing up as the leader that has been put in a set place to do a specific thing for specific people. Because the conundrum of leadership, it isn't a sign of failure, it's a sign of impact. If people were not hungry for what you had, then they will not consume it. If they didn't have an appetite for what was on the inside of you, they wouldn't eat it. How often have you eaten a meal and you've gone back into the kitchen and asked the chef how he made it? You don't know how many hours it took for them to prepare just that one plate for you. The same thing for us in the marketplace. People don't understand what it takes, and what it's going to take for us to show up and serve at the level that we do. They just have an appetite for it. And very few people are going to come back into the kitchen and say thank you. That's just how it is, unfortunately. So if you're depending on that to validate who you are, you're already behind. But if you've already committed to showing up, to being the leader that God has shaped you into, to having some substance to yourself, if you committed to that, then you're gonna be good. The more you evolve, the more people will have to adjust their expectations. So keep evolving. Yeah, don't play small. Keep evolving. You're not gonna always be liked, but as long as you're faithful, God is pleased. God is pleased. Hope you got something out of that. I thank you very much for showing up. Make sure you share this with somebody who's maybe going through this and they need some encouragement or a pick me up, or they need some strategy around how to navigate this season of their life. Because as you grow, there's going to be different levels of expectations set on you. And if you allow yourself to be buried up under the weight of other people's perspectives, then you're not going to be as effective as you can be. All right. Remember that what you want to become depends on your willingness to become it. Have a great day.